Thank you all for coming to Calyptix Support Webinar, the lesser known facts and more about the Calyptix AccessEnforcer. Hold on for a second, please. So I wanted to introduce ourselves. My name is Duane Pettus. I am Warren Parker.
And I'm Joseph Schmidt.
We are going to be your panelists for this webinar. We are going to try to keep this webinar under 59 minutes. But before we started, we did want to introduce you. We do have a new member of our group that started with us, and we wanted him to give an opportunity to at least give his name. And you are?
Hello, my name is Nate Duncan. I'm a recent graduate from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And yeah, I just joined the team, just learning a little bit about the company. And I am also tuned in to the webinar. So yeah.
Welcome. We did want to just let you know that as a company, we are trying our best to grow and get new talent in so that we can better assist you.
So we got a lot on the agenda today. Not going to read off every single thing here. It does look like a lot, but I could tell you that we will move through this pretty quickly. We're going to be talking about the partner portal, the AccessEnforcer in general, and also other little things that you may not know about the system. Now, AccessEnforcer, it's more than a firewall. We wouldn't really describe it as a router. We don't call it that. And so really what you get with an AccessEnforcer is so many different services that will help you protect your customers the best way you can. And that will include Gatekeeper, Community Shield, Geofence, amongst a lot of different things like the web filter. Now, I do want to point out that we do have resources that are available to everyone. Inside the partner portal, we have training resources, which will give you our YouTube videos that we make for any topic that we have. And also, if you wanted to start training on a new tech or something like that, the Getting Started page is a really good place to have all those things in one view. Now, there is some partner portal changes, not really much since the last time we talked about it in the previous webinar. But I do want to make sure that everyone knows that we do have a new partner portal that is partners.calyptix.com. We used to have online.calyptix.com, and that was the previous partner portal. And that no longer is a thing. It will redirect you to the new partner portal. Now, it's fully accessible to everyone, but if you wanted a more personalized experience, which will give you more information about your network, a login is required. If you don't have a login, email portal@calyptix.com and we'll get you set up. Now, here's where the lesser known facts come in. We have, when you log in, a shelf spare assessment form. What we do here is we would like to breathe new life into AccessEnforcers that you may have on your shelf. And to do that, we need a little information. So inside the partner portal, there is a little widget on the side of the homepage that says shelf spare assessment form. Click into that, put in your serial, give a little comment, and our support team will come back to you with some recommendations of how that can be deployed or used as an emergency self-spare. Now, here's a little hidden mechanic I kind of like. I think is cool. So when you log in, you'll have access to all your network sites, and it'll display them to you. When you drill into a network site, it will give you all the information of that. There's a little widget here that'll pop up if there's a discrepancy between what we think is at a site and what is actually reporting to be physically at the site. Now, when that happens, we want to know. We want to get the record straight and everything like that. So there's no crosstalk between two different devices on a network site. That's kind of messy when it comes to reporting and everything. And it just messes up everything in line with it. Try to keep that separate. So this little widget will pop up and the same thing. Put in the serial that you know is there in the comments, and then we'll straighten it all out for you.
So now, before we get into all of the known, lesser known facts of the AccessEnforcer, I did want to let you know that this is a briefing of some of the features. There are a lot of features in the AccessEnforcer that we're not going to speak about on this webinar, but we can do a lesser known part 2 where we could talk about where the notifications are, the graceful shutdown of the UPS. When plugged into a UPS, the AccessEnforcer can gracefully shut down. We could talk about the web filter and how you can set different times for the web filter to be activated, just in case you have like a night shift or you want everybody in lunch to have a better experience with the web. during lunchtime, resetting the AccessEnforcer admin or support password with SSH and using PuTTY, things like that. We could go over a lot of different details, and we'll go over some other things. If you guys think that this is a very, very helpful video, then we'll go ahead and make a lesser known facts and more part 2 so that you can have more of those. But now, getting into the AccessEnforcer, since version 4, one of our lead developers, Bryce, was able to change the front page of every AccessEnforcer. So you'll notice that distinct AccessEnforcers right from the start, when you look at the main front page, you'll notice that the colors are different. So on version 4 per se, it was a dark blue. Version 6.5, which we're on now, is like a brown. Version 7 will be green. So you'll know from the start, when you're looking at an AccessEnforcer, even from the main homepage, you'll know what version that you are on. So another thing that I wanted to tell you guys about is the Packet Analyzer. Now, Packet Analyzer is your friend. This is like one of the key troubleshooting programs that we use here at Calyptix. And to get to it, you would go to Home Diagnostics Packet Analyzer. And in here, you can watch traffic on any interface that we have. And when I say any interface, it's not just the physical interfaces that we have. You can watch it on the VLANs that we have in the box. You can watch it on the IPsec tunnels we have, on the Calyptix VPN. So to get to that, you will go to Home, then you will go to Diagnostics, and then you will see in the drop-down, you will select Packet Analyzer. Now, if you don't know the syntax for what the BPF syntax is, then we do have a helpful link that we can click on. It'll give you some examples of what you can have. One of my favorite commands to use is the net command, which stands for network. If you type in the BPF syntax, all lowercase, NET, put a space, and then put in the start of a network like 192.168 and hit start, it will show you exactly anything and everything that deals with 192.168 networks. If you put in 172.16.14.14, it'll show you anything and everything that deals with the 172.16.14 networks. So I like that command as well. And you can use ands and nots and ors in this location to help with the Packet Analyzer. So as we get into Packet Analyzer, on the Calyptix device, I generally try to break up my network. So you have a WAN side, you have a LAN side. So in my captures, what I do is I start off my capture by going to Home Diagnostics, Packet Analyzer, and then I right-click the word Diagnostics and I say open a new tab so that I have 2 tabs open. On one side, I will capture traffic on NIC1, which is the internal network that we have. On the second side, I'll watch the traffic on the WAN side. That way, when I see traffic going through, I can watch the traffic from one machine go all the way through the Calyptix and come back through the Calyptix. And you'll note that interface, and you'll note the ports that are associated with them or the traffic that's there. In this example that we have, I was trying to watch ICMP traffic, which is ping traffic, go through from one device that I had to Google. And you can see it go from Google out to the internet, back in, out, and back. So another diagnostics tool that I use with the Packet Analyzer is Telnet. So what I like to do is if someone says, hey, I can't get to that device internally, the first thing I do is I go to my Calyptix device. I'll go to Home Diagnostics. I'll do the drop down under Telnet. And what I will do is try to Telnet to that internal device on the port that they have. Now, granted, Telnet is for TCP traffic only. So I will try to Telnet to that TCP port internally. If you get a good response, it'll say no further response, connection still open. If you're doing a Telnet to say port 25, it'll give you the internal name of your mail server. If you get an incorrect or a timeout or connection actively refused, that means that the internal device is not listening. So in conjunction with the Packet Analyzer, what we do is we open up, let's say, a Packet Analyzer on Home Diagnostics Packet Analyzer like we did in the last slide. And we'll go to, let's say, the BPF syntax 4, and we'll put in port 3389. And then you can Telnet from there and see that traffic on the network. Now, I also use Telenet because I have more than one Calyptix device. A lot of you do have it. I would recommend that if you're trying to troubleshoot, that you open up your home AccessEnforcer, go to Home, Diagnostics, Telenet, and then you can open up the packet analyzer on the local machine and you can watch that traffic go through just like someone else was trying. That's generally how I do it. So on my local AccessEnforcer, I go to the Telenet page and then I go to the packet analyzer on the remote side, and then I watch that traffic go through. But that's a good way that you can test with the Telenet program and the packet analyzer.
So as part of your subscription, we provide dynamic DNS. And those are, you can find those in the my.calyptix.com site, but we're doing our best to roll all the features in that site into our new partners portal. So the last couple things we're going to need to port over are going to be certificate information for things like the device, or the GUI rather, Calyptix VPN, a few other things. We can still get that certificate info from my.calyptix.com. But starting with the partners portal, you can also get the dynamic DNS name. Now, it's a really unwieldy name, WAN0.random characters and everything. So you don't really want to do much with that. What you want to do is log into your domain registrar, and you want to add a subdomain to a domain that you control or that your clients own and control. You create a CNAME alias, with this being the part that is the alias to another FQDN that you can then use for lots of different things, such as the FQDN that Calyptix VPN clients are configured to connect to, but also for logging into the device, which leads me into this really cool thing that we did. We partnered with Let's Encrypt so that we can get a free domain verification or validation certificate for free, as long as you have an FQDN that is matched with the public IP of the firewall. It's auto-renewing. It's free, like I said, and you can use it for Gatekeeper. You can use it for Calyptix VPN. You can use it for logging into the Calyptix. Super easy, auto-renewing every 3 months or 90 days. Definitely take advantage of that. Even if you have static IPs, it's still a convenient thing to have.
So we added this Calyptix freebie in here. And great shout out to Joseph. Joseph does all of our slides. And as you can see, his slides are like awesomely done. This is like the basic cheesy generic slide that I put in here because I did not tell him to do this slide. I just wanted to mention it as a freebie. In the port forwarding page, we added a feature called Track This IP Address for Changes. So if you navigated to set up network port forwarding and you added a new rule, you will see a little small checkbox under the public IP address that says check this IP address for changes. What this does is if your primary WAN changes and say like a dynamic setting and you have a whole bunch of rules, we will automatically keep your port forwarding rules going. So in this example here, we have, which we would not recommend under the new rule, we adding a new rule 3389 to a network 192.168.0.10, which I'm quite sure you guys inherited this network because no Calyptix partner is using 192.168.0.networks or 1.networks or 10.networks, but you've inherited this network where it's a 10.0.10. And what we did is we're going to open up 3389, which once again, we don't recommend here in Calyptix. In Calyptix, we use our Gatekeeper program, which is a secure behind multi-factor authentication way of us connecting to a RDP session. So we'll either use the Calyptix VPN, which is our older version, or our new Gatekeeper program to use these. But in this essence, what we're doing is tracking the IP address. Now, in the port forwarding section, you will see that it will no longer have the IP address of your external public IP address, but it will say tracking whatever your ISP is that you have in your notes for that WAN. So mine in this case was primary WAN with Spectrum. So it'll say tracking Spectrum. If I change or my IP address changes from Spectrum, there's no longer a need to go to the port forwarding page. It will automatically keep your port forwarding done when your IP address registers again. Now, again, we use this when you have a lot of rules and you just don't want to go back and click every rule and add the new one. Now, also, I do this with my static IPs. And the reason I do it with my static IPs, not necessarily just my dynamic IPs, is I don't want to have to go in here when AT&T has a better deal than Spectrum. So now I'm on AT&T, but I have to go back and change all of my port forwarding rules again. Because of I have tracked my rules, I only have to change the name of Spectrum to AT&T, and it will automatically update all of my port forwarding rules. So I like this feature called Track This IP Address. It's a good feature for me.
Okay, so there's a scenario that we see often in support. It's when, let's say, a user installs the same VPN or Calyptix VPN client on 2 different devices and is connected on both of those at the same time. The same thing happens. It plays out every time. Traffic will pass normally for about 30 seconds. And then for about a minute, it won't work. And that process will repeat itself about every 2 minutes. So the way you can diagnose that is if you look on the Calyptix VPN login attempts, you'll see the same person connected from, if they're in different locations, with the same client number at the same time, but from different IP addresses. Now, you can also install the same client on your laptop and your desktop and be connected by both at the same time, triggering this behavior. So what we like to tell people is, if you know a user is going to have a laptop and a desktop, create an individual user for each of those devices so they can never have a conflict ever again and won't have to worry about this. Now, a secondary thing is that if you have more than one person connected from the same public IP address, and one of those jokers is accidentally connected with his client on 2 different devices, well, guess what? Everyone at that public IP address will experience the exact same behavior as the joker. So we ran into that in an interesting scenario. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. A user for each device. It's a really good way to set it up, and we definitely recommend that.
So one thing that I did want to say, and Warren, one of the scenarios that I would do is under user management, I would set up a user that's called Warren's laptop. Then I would set up a user called Warren's desktop. And then I would set up a user called Warren's phone. That way you can specifically know who's connecting. And like Warren said, there will be no conflicts anywhere in the system. Thanks.
So we offer a feature called LAN lockdown, and it's like a DMZ. When you enable LAN lockdown for an interface, for a LAN interface, no one on that network can make outbound connections to any other network behind the Calyptix. And this works pretty well. In fact, it works really well. But there's always going to be someone who's like, yeah, but I need to get to this one computer over here on LAN 1. It's QuickBooks. We just need one port. Well, we allow you to do that. If you create a pinhole using an outbound filtering rule, set up network outbound filtering, then you can create a pinhole with an allow rule using the information you see to the right over here on the outbound filtering rule. So you want to create the rule, you want to set it at the top. Rules on that page are evaluated from top to bottom. So if you have any blocking rules, you want to put those down low. You have any allow rules, those go up high. That way the block, the allow allows the traffic before the block takes effect. And another thing we have noticed is that there's a big difference between Gatekeeper and Calyptix VPN. Gatekeeper, you can configure, give people access to individual devices, but it uses principles of zero trust, where people can only access that which you have allowed them to access and nothing further. Calyptix VPN is a little bit different. By default, if someone connects via Calyptix VPN, they can connect to anything behind the firewall. And so there's a page in the partners portal called Calyptix VPN Access Controls that runs you through a few scenarios of how you can actually block traffic from Calyptix VPN clients. And you can find out the IP address of each individual client by looking on the Calyptix VPN login attempts page. Once a person connects with their VPN client, they will always have the same IP address. So that's something you can be relied on. And those configurations are actually saved in the backup file and can be restored to newly replaced hardware or RMA devices. So those rules will always work because the IP addresses of Calyptix VPN clients won't change.
So a lot of other clients have asked, partners have asked, well, I have a Calyptix VPN, one of my clients, and they want to be able to access something over the IPsec tunnel. You've created an IPsec tunnel with another device, and you want to be able to access that over your Calyptix VPN. Now, one thing that we have to start with in talking about adding the Calyptix VPN to an IPsec tunnel, you have to tell the remote side of the tunnel that you're going to be adding another local subnet. Without that information, we'll send traffic to them, but they'll never send traffic back to us because you haven't told them to add this as a remote LAN so that they can send the traffic back to us. So now the first thing we want to do is we will want to go to setup VPN, Calyptix VPN users. Calyptix VPN settings. And then at the bottom, there is a checkbox that says push IPsec remote LANs to the Calyptix VPN client. Now, once you hit apply, it's very important that you disconnect your VPN, Calyptix VPN to get a new configuration. If you don't disconnect, it's not going to add all of this new information that you told it to push. It's going to grab all of the information from the IPsec page and put that into your Calyptix VPN. So you have to disconnect and then reconnect. The second thing we have to do is we have to tell the IPsec tunnel, hey, we have a new network that is local to us. So under setup, VPN, IPsec, when you enable the IPsec policy, under the local LAN, you will have to add a comma and then a space and then add 10.64.0.0/16 if you have not changed the local Calyptix VPN subnet to your local LAN. So now, from the standpoint of the Calyptix, hey, we have our internal network, but we also now have a local 10.64 that we are going to be accepting traffic from this IPsec. And then our developers have done all of the wizardry in the background. And I did want to say thank you to the developers for doing all of that so that we didn't have to do it on the front end, but they magically know how to transfer that traffic. But again, if you don't tell the other side of the tunnel, sure, we'll send it over there, but they'll never get it back. We also have this feature available for your static routes, just the same. But again, you would have to tell the other side of the static routes to, hey, we're going to have 1064 traffic, send that back to us. So that's one thing that we did want to tell you about.
And if you're making an AccessEnforcer to AccessEnforcer tunnel, you're definitely going to want to change the default Calyptix VPN subnet on one of those sides so that they're different. You can't have them be the same. It doesn't really matter which one you change it on, just one of them has to be different.
Yes. So we also have another feature where IPsec, and then we have the ability to NAT behind. So let's say you're taking over a network, and we notice that that local network has we're using 128.0.41.22 as the local IP address, but as our LAN, we're using 51.0. If the other side of the tunnel has a 51.0, then you can't pass traffic because that LAN is already local to them. So what Calyptix has done is we've added a feature where we can NAT behind another network. So anytime that we want to refer to something remote, it will be 10.50.50. Whatever that number is, instead of using the 192.168.51, which is local to us. And they will be able to respond to us on the 10.50. Now, we can NAT behind a network, or if you're doing one-way traffic, which we have seen a lot in hospitals. So if you are a medical facility and you need to add a printer and it really doesn't matter, then they're just going to ask you, the hospital is going to ask you, well, we want you to be this IP address. And if they say behind your IPsec tunnel, we only want to see traffic from this IP address, what they're asking you to do is put that IP information in your NAT local behind. So if you put that IP address there, where the 10.50.50.0 is /24, then all traffic coming from us to that IPsec tunnel on the other side will be just from that one IP address. So this is a feature that we use in the event that we are being asked to do an IPsec tunnel with somebody who does not want to use a regular common subnet that is on our network.
So you can use SSH like PuTTY to connect to port 7022 on a Calyptix IP address, either the gateway or the public IP, and access the recovery. Now, you could also do that when you're local using a serial port. We highly recommend you obtain the cable pointed to you by the green arrow, which is a RJ45 Ethernet to USB. I can't tell you how useful it is, and I'm very thankful they come for free in the packaging for the AE1900. So if you buy one of those, you will get one. This is really nice because it allows you to do all these things you can see in the menu there. But one of the most important things is the time. MFA, multi-factor authentication, when you enable it, if your time is off on the Calyptix, then that's going to be a problem. You won't be able to log in. So if you can access the device physically via serial, you can get in to change the date and time so that it's current, or it's accurate, I should say, which will restore your ability to log in with MFA, which is, really, really good. And if you haven't enabled MFA, I highly recommend that you do so.
Now, one of the developers just informed me of something very, very special. When you're setting the time, we don't know what the seconds will be as they're ticking off. So what they have given me the example to do is on this page where it's 13 is basically 1 o'clock at 46. You don't know what the seconds are. What they've asked me to do is just put in 30. Because as long as you are within 30 seconds of it, you'll be able to log in. Now, once you're logged into the AccessEnforcer and the AccessEnforcer is online, it will adjust the time. It goes out and asks the time servers what the real time is, and it'll adjust. But if it's been offline, or let's say you get a new AccessEnforcer that we've had on the shelf for a week, the time might be a little bit off. And if you're doing a backup and restore, if we're doing a backup and restore for you, the time might be off. So you might want to use this. And again, as Warren said, in the AE 1900s, that serial cable is a lifesaver for setting up a lot of different things.
Especially for we redirect all the video to that console port. So if you ever want to watch a device boot, my goodness, every tech needs to have one because you can see the exact boot process, see where it gets hung up, and know exactly where you are in the boot process, which is really helpful for us to be able to coordinate with you on a support call. We've also, with cyber insurance becoming a thing, it's more common. We find a lot of partners asking for the ability to export a lot of our logs. So one of our developers, Nick, he created the audit log exporter, which allows you to not have to go to each individual page and export the logs. You can just do it under the reports section, all the different logs we have, and it'll zip them all up in a handy package that you can then download and then hand that off to auditors or your cyber insurance people or anyone who needs to know how, if your config has changed and in what ways it has changed.
So as we're doing segue and we're talking about one of our lead developers, Nick created an awesome filtering program for it. So on the AccessEnforcer, we have under the network alerts page, under the web traffic page, under the live connections page, we have the ability to filter traffic for you. So I'll give you an example of each of the pages so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So let's start from the network alerts page. Under the network alerts page, which is at home network alerts, there'll be a lot of information there. And this is the top screen that we're looking at. But let's say one of the key features that we've had in the past 3 weeks, Screen Connect. For some strange reason, Screen Connect has put rules in place to protect them, but we are triggering the rules on real networks that have Screen Connect. So what people have to do is go to home, network alerts. What I generally do under this, there's a filtering, there's a little arrow. I click the arrow, and then under the description, I just put in the word screen. When I see all of the different Screen Connect M2s that are under there, I know for a fact, this is the IP address that I am running from Screen Connect. I then apply that IP address to my security network static allow list, and that way I will be able to run Screen Connect, but I will still be protected from the rest of the world just in case someone wants to hack me on the Screen Connect page. So another thing that he's added is under home web traffic. If you're looking at the web traffic, which is on the left page, right page, bottom right page, thank you. You'd have the ability to filter by name of the website. And you don't even have to put in the full name. He's added it so that you can look for, let's say, Google. Or if you don't want to put in the full, you can GOO and it'll start searching for anything that begins with that. So you can do it by your client IP address if you're looking for a bad actor or one person. Or you can do it by the username if you're using our Active Directory connector, or by domain name. You can even limit the time period you want to look at. There's also an export on this page. So once you get the information you want, we've added an export so you can export that information in the CSV into anything that you want there. The final one is under the Live Connections page. On the Live Connections page, if you go to the home page and you see that your traffic graph is going out of control, it's pegged, and you click Home Live Connections, it'll automatically tell you who the bad actor is there. But if you go search all live connections, you can find out more information with the source IP address or the destination IP address. So these features have been put in place to make it quick and easy for you to find out how to filter traffic on the AccessEnforcer to give you the quickest and easiest way to solve problems.
And also in version 7, we have created a local DNS server. And that's going to be on the global DNS page, which is setup network DNS. It basically, it's going to do like there's with everyone moving to the cloud and Azure, which is what's the new name of Azure? They changed the name. Entra. Yeah. As people are moving toward that kind of model, it's really still helpful to be able to resolve local things by DNS, by fully qualified domain name. So we've added a hook into our DHCP server. We'll automatically add all the DHCP leases that are the AE knows about or has handed out into the list of things that it can be resolved, that it can resolve. And so here's what that looks like. That's on the DNS page. Enabling it is as simple as clicking DNS enabled on the top row. And then below, you'll see some of the entries that are really easy to do. Just to add in any kind of host name, it'll automatically record the host name of all DHCP clients, which is helpful. Strange noise.
Yeah, rain.
Oh, it's rain. It's raining. Anywho, so this happens automatically once you enable the interface. If you have any interface specific, so there's a global DNS, but there's also a field for DNS on each LAN setup page. You want to take those out. And you want to use local DNS. It's automatic. You don't need to configure anything on any clients or anything. We automatically will hand out the AE's IP address as a DHCP DNS option. And so that's the mechanism by which we have that happen. And we're going to be releasing version 7 en masse, hopefully next week or the week after that. So we'll be able to upgrade everyone's devices so that they can use the new local DNS server.
So one thing about the local DNS server that I like is there's a lot of different small places where you put the Calyptix into, like a side office or anything like that. So they don't have a server anymore, or your main network, like Warren said, doesn't have a server because you moved to the cloud. This is also a great feature for if you know the names of machines, or you name those machines by people, you can reach them by network instead of by just trying to figure out what IP address they are. So in your remote sites, I like this feature. Unfortunately, at present, it does not go over the IPsec tunnel, but we're going to try and work on that and see if we can get that working.
So speaking of all these new features and everything in 87, just give you a quick highlight of what we got going on. So this is the local DNS server that's included in there. That's what we just talked about. It upgrades OpenBSD. We have some backend support for the CCM management, and then also the AE 1900. And there's a whole slew of stuff that's been upgraded for performance and security. But all of this is publicly available inside the partner portal. Just on the top navigation, it'll just be AE release notes, AE releases.
So one thing I did want to note, and thanks for that, Joseph. The developers have worked really, really hard. And one of the things that they pride themselves on is they try to be as transparent and give you as much information. So the release notes are a pretty way of putting the change logs together. So you'll see pictures, you'll see all of that. These are the change logs. This tells you what's new in every box. This tells you what's new in every build, and what's changed in every build and what we have actually fixed in every build. So the change logs are in every AccessEnforcer. And as Joseph said, you can go to the partner portal. You can look at the change logs from different events. But one thing I did want to let you guys know that you might not have known. If you are on any AccessEnforcer and you scroll down to the bottom of the page in the footer and you click on the word version, it will take you to a local copy of the change logs. The developers have put that in there so that you will know exactly what build you're on, what's new in this build. So again, if you go on any AccessEnforcer and scroll down to the bottom, in the footer, you'll see the version. If you click on that version number, it'll take you to a local copy of the change logs so that you can see them. So we also wanted to talk about known issues. Now, a lot of people shy away from the known issues of their devices because they don't want to know that they have flaws. Calyptix is not necessarily like that. Like, we try to be as transparent. We let you know what's not working, what is working. We try our best to let you know what will work, what we're compatible with. So we were able to put all of our known issues that we have with the AccessEnforcer in each build that we have on the partner portal. You can see the link here. And please, if you get an opportunity, take a look at this, because some of your issues may be resolved because we already know it's a known issue and we have difficulties trying to resolve that issue. So a lot of our known issues are on the partner portal.
Now, we can't finish without talking about the best thing we got going on right now, which is the AE 1900. It's the fastest AccessEnforcer we got. As you can see, the specs right there, it kind of blows anything we got away. Even the bigger boxes that we've known that we used over the years. Now, I can't even say anything more about it. It's got plenty of headroom, and it's got 32 gigabytes of RAM, but it's available. We started deploying it in January 1st, and it's been a strong competitor in the field.
We've had a number of AE 3400s that have been more than adequately replaced with the 19.
And for me personally, it comes with a serial cable that's a USB serial cable, which helps me in my process and helps you guys so that we can make sure that these devices, not the 1900s, but any other devices you have with that serial cable, you will be able to plug that in and easily access any AccessEnforcer that we have out there.
Did you know that the rack gears come in there in the same box with the 1900 too?
Yeah, they also have the rack gears. So this is a box that we are moving towards. Now, do note, and this is just for the people listening, this is not our last AccessEnforcer that we're trying. We are moving to a faster, better process of pushing out faster hardware. So I will say, be on the lookout for new hardware soon.
Guys, thank you so much for being here with us. You could have been doing anything in your life right now, but you stuck with us and made it to the end. We definitely appreciate your time, and thank you for being a part of this.
Let me see if we have any questions.
We do have questions, and what we're going to do is we're going to answer them specifically in emails form. So put in your questions now. We'll give you a few minutes if you have anything you want to put down, and we can respond to them through support.
All right. Thanks a lot.